went from lost and broke to self-taught web developer with no computer science degree or boot camps in 3 months, and this is how I did it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Jess, and in this video I am finally telling you guys how I became a web developer with no computer science degrees or boot camps. I did it fairly quickly once I actually started taking it seriously. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing how I went from literally struggling, like I'm saying $15,000 a year with a kid, to where I'm at now and my journey going forward, then this is the video for you. So a little bit of background, I've never had a tech job prior to the one that I have currently, and I've always worked at like Best Buy or Office Depot, and then right before I found the world of tech, I was working at a bank. I was in banking for, I would say altogether about 7 years, 6 or 7 years. I was with 2 different companies, but the last particular company, when I first started working there, I absolutely loved it. I had no complaints. I loved the staff, all my teams, you know, everybody was great, everything was great. But over time, I became very unhappy, and I started to see just how much I was being held back. I knew my potential, I knew that I could get things done, and I was still being held back for whatever reason, and you know, very slowly progressed. So I decided that enough was enough, and I literally packed my stuff up. I was due to go to lunch at a certain time. I know this sounds bad, don't be like me, but I was due to go to lunch at a certain time. I knew when I walked in my heart that I was done, and so during lunch, I packed up all my stuff, made sure that I left there anything that needed to be left, and anything that needed to come with me came with me. And I walked out and said, I'll be back after my lunch break. And I never came back, literally, never came back. So was it the smart thing to do at the time? Probably not. But it got me to where I am now. I had to make those different changes and literally leap of faith to get to where I am today. So because I had to make money, I had already started a stationery brand, or like a stationery blog, before I quit my job. And I decided that since I quit my job, I needed to focus in on this and take it seriously and figure out how I can make money from it. Keith and I went to New York. We went to the biggest stationery show in our country, and I would argue maybe the world, the National Stationery Show, where all the top brands come and they showcase all of their stationery. After the stationery show, I had this feeling like, this is still not it. I love stationery, but I'm still not doing what I love, and I'm still not, to be honest, making money, and I have all these responsibilities. I was trying to fix something on my blog for WordPress once I got back home, and I was trying to like just revamp everything. I was trying to fix something would not work. So I started researching, and you know, WordPress has the community forum so that other users of the platform can answer questions that are frequently asked. I found out that it was something with what's called the HTML. HTML is hypertext markup language, which again, we'll talk about in future videos where we actually go over code and all that kind of stuff. You know, languages and things like that. But because I had to fix that HTML, it pretty much just from there led me down a rabbit hole of, okay, if I could do that with this, what can I do with this? And what is that? And CSS and JavaScript, what is that? Animation, what is that? So yeah, it was just like a snowball effect, and that is how I initially found out about coding. So when it was actually time for me to start learning how to code, I started going to the library. I picked up a Coding for Dummies book, HTML for Dummies, JavaScript for Dummies, and I went home and I started studying. Mind you, I still didn't have like an actual 9-to-5 job. I was still on my own trying to figure it out. By that time, I had found out that I was expecting my second child, which threw us for a loop. I started crying. Not that I wasn't happy about her, but then it just snapped in my head, like I have to make something shake. I already had to before, but I really got to now. So I was sitting at my desk, you know, really focused on learning these languages. I was watching YouTuber after YouTuber, specifically ones who said that they were self-taught, to see exactly what their path looked like. And the one thing that I remember standing out was that a lot of these YouTubers had in common that they went to meetups. So I was like, well, I live in a very small city. I live in Dayton, Ohio, and super small city, but kind of a lot going on, especially like now the tech world is starting to come up, you know, it's starting to kind of, you know, make some noise a little bit. So I literally downloaded an app called Meetup. This is not sponsored in any way, obviously, because I'm a tiny channel right now, but I downloaded the Meetup app, searched for, I think I searched probably something like coding groups, and then of course you can like narrow it down to your area, so in surrounding areas. So I looked here and in Cincinnati because I used to live in Cincinnati and that drive is like nothing to me, so I was willing to go to meetups that were there if I found them intriguing enough. I found a coding group here and it was only for women. Well, they offered, they allowed men, but it was more so for women. And I found this amazing community of women who, some were self-taught, some were learning. Like me at the time, I was learning. I hadn't had my first job. I didn't have a job at all at the time. And a lot of them, though, were women who worked in the industry for years, or were working in the industry for years as like top, developers in their companies. Engineers, software engineers, things like that. So I took that opportunity to ask the women questions. I asked them, how did you start? Where did you start? Did you go to school? Were you self-taught? Did you go to a boot camp? What are the best languages to learn? How do I learn them? What do you recommend? All the questions that I could think of. Mind you, this is not just one time. Usually these groups meet up. At least for ours, we had the in-person meetups once a month at our library. It was like once every Saturday. I think it was like the first Saturday of the month. But there were also other groups meeting throughout the week. So sometimes I would go on Saturday mornings, meet with the women, and then I would go with Keith. Or at first I was going by myself. I would go like on Wednesdays. That seemed to be mostly the days that they would have them. And eventually I drug Keith along with me because he was actually learning as well, but he was interested in different languages at the time. I was more so into web development. He was more so into apps. So I drug him to a meetup, and from there it kind of like switched everything around for him also. He got to see that it's not just a whole bunch of geeky people sitting around talking about tech, but that you really can build a network. You meet people, they feed you. If you want free pizza, go to a meetup. Maybe not now because of this stupid virus, but once the world starts opening up again in a way that we were used to before, then I highly suggest going to these meetups in person. But you can still get on meetup.com because there's still, like for instance, the women that I met up with, I haven't met with them in a while just because time and life. But they still have Zoom meetups. So they will schedule on a Saturday at 9 a.m. for you to get on a Zoom call, and just same thing. It's just not in person, just like everything else these days. So yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend finding a meetup in your city, figuring out what you want to do, even if you don't know what you want to do. Like even if you don't know, I want to be a web developer, but I want to code in some capacity, or whatever it is that you want to do, get on Meetup. Go to whatever type of meetup you can go to right now. Contact these people any way you can and ask questions, because there is a key thing to this. All the YouTubers that I watched that were self-taught said that they got their first job, also me, from going to meetups. And the reason is you network. You start opening your mouth. You have opportunities to show your portfolio or whatever you've been working on to the people who are already in these positions, who may have positions that they're hiring for at their company. Even if they aren't the hiring manager, they know the hiring manager, or they can put you in a position where, oh, I know this girl, from this meetup, or this guy from this meetup, and they are working on this and that, and they will be a great fit for this new position that you guys just posted. You should give them a call. I'm telling you, that's what happened to me. Spoiler alert. Yeah, meetups. So go to the meetups in whatever capacity that means. If you can't go to a meetup, or you can't participate in a Zoom call or whatever the case is, get on Instagram. I don't have a lot of followers right now as we speak. I'm sitting at probably around 450 people that follow me on Instagram, and that's fine. I get, without even posting anything, I get at least 3 to 5 people a week DMing me from all over the world. Don't know these people. Some of them don't even follow me. They just found me some kind of way, and they're asking questions. They are passionate about their craft, and they are asking questions. And all I have in my bio is self-taught web developer. I said something like, I don't I don't fix computers, I build websites, because that's one thing. When you get into code and people gonna think that you can fix the computer. No, I don't fix computers. I don't know nothing about hardware, but I can get into that software. So anyway, these meetups, I'm telling you, are they're a key component in, I'm not saying that that's the only way at all. There are tons of ways that you can do it, but hearing the other YouTubers and then that happening for me, it holds true to me. So it would be worth a try, but definitely network, because the thing I was told also when going to these meetups by multiple people in multiple different groups, it's not about what you know all the time and how much code you know and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, you want to pass the coding test when you get your interviews and things like that, but a lot of it has to do with how much passion you have and how that portrays to the people that you are interviewing with. They want to know that you're dedicated to learning, because tech is always evolving. Tech is always, changing. The things that I learned even just a few months ago may not be the same today. So they want to know that you can adapt well, that you can learn quickly, and that you are dedicated to learning, because you're always going to be learning, and you'll never, ever, ever feel like you know enough. There's never going to be a time as a developer or engineer that you feel like you've learned everything that you can learn. There are people who have been in this industry for 50 years, 20 years, whatever, and they're still learning. They're learning from the younger, our generation, who are brought up on tech, So there's always going to be something that you can learn. So always remember that. But as long as you have that passion for what it is that you're learning and want to do, trust me, it will come across to the people that you're networking with and the people that you're building with. And somebody, you just never know where that could lead, as far as somebody thinking, hey, I talked to Susan about, she was asking me questions about this, and that, and I know that she's working on this, so we're offering this position. She's a great fit. Another thing I did when I started learning was using all the free resources that I could, because mind you, again, I had no job, I had no income coming in. Thank God I had Keith, who was busting his butt, taking care of me, taking care of Ava. Leah was in my belly at the time, but he was holding it down for our family. And he eventually was like, at this point, you can't go back to banking or whatever it is that you wanted to do, because you're so passionate about this over here. It makes no sense. Let me grind, sacrifice, whatever. You learn, you get your job. And that's what I did. So doing that, when I was learning how to code and still learning, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not learning, because I'm still very new at this. Even though I've been in my job for almost a year now, I am still learning. I'm telling you, you'll never stop learning. But anyway, free resources. I will go over this in another video in depth about every resource that I found helpful for me on my journey when I was first starting out. But one thing, like I said, that I, still do is watch YouTubers. One particular YouTuber that I loved was Real Chris Sean, and I'll link his page in the description below. His journey, if you ever question whether you can be self-taught and not go to school, if I'm not doing it for you, please watch his videos, because he is literally the reason why I kept going and why I even started, because his story is just very inspirational. He takes you on this journey of not going to school for this, not going to any boot camps, completely self-taught, and he ended up working for his dream companies. He ended up interviewing with entrepreneur, and they declined him at first, but once he started grinding and learning more and actually doing things and doing his YouTube videos and things like that, they reached out to him and gave him a job. And I'm telling you guys, we'll go over this as well. These salaries, look them up. How much can I make as a web developer, as a software engineer, things like that. They, starting out, are close to the 6-figure range. Now, everything is not that way and every situation is different, but most likely you can do that. And if you don't do it the first job, you can do it the second or third job. So just keep going. Always stay hungry. But yeah, Real Chris Sean, I'll link him in the description below. But outside of that, I mentioned I went to the library to get books. Those are free. Team Treehouse was one of the resources that I used because of Real Chris Sean, but that is not free. You might be able to, I've heard you can get it free through your library. I'm just not sure how to do that. I haven't tried yet, but I've been told multiple times that certain libraries, I don't know if it's certain areas, but some libraries do offer Treehouse for free. So I would check in with your local library and see if that is the case for you. If not, at this current time, it's $20 a month, or you can pay, I think, close to $300 annually, which still comes out to less than what you pay $20 a month, all the math. But right now I'm doing monthly because I don't necessarily need it for a whole year. I mean, it would be beneficial, but just to brush up on your skills. But right now I'm taking a full stack developer track. So they have different tracks that you can take. So for people like me, if you're like me, I don't want to go to school because one, I don't want to pay all that money because let's not get on how much of a scam I feel like college is if you're not a doctor, lawyer, or something like that. But like for this, I have my own opinions. And I'm sure other people who have gone this route do too. And even I've heard people who actually have computer science degrees said they learn more on their own. Like I literally worked with someone who said they learned more on their own and playing around with their iPad than they did in the 4 to 5 years that they went to school for computer science. So anyway, use your resources, okay? Use your free resources. And if you want to pay for a boot camp, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you not to go to school. This video is not about that, not going to school or not going to boot camp. But I know there are tons of people who, one, can't afford college or can't afford boot camps because boot camps are pretty expensive. And if you can take the time to learn it by yourself and make your own curriculum, you do have to be very dedicated. But you can do it. For me, I'm the type of person, I need a curriculum. I need to have some kind of structure to the things that I'm learning because if I'm too all over the place, I get very overwhelmed and then it discourages me. So if you're like me, Team Treehouse, again, not sponsored because I'm an itty bitty channel right now, but let's see where we at the end of the year. I'm excited. Team Treehouse is an amazing resource if you want some type of structure and okay, you did this, now do this next. Okay, you got that done, now do this next. They actually quiz you throughout the course, as you're going through the different modules and learning different things in between, every, however many slides, they'll pop up with a quiz. Okay, do you remember what we just talked about? So it really keeps you on your toes and makes you feel like you have to pay attention because you're literally getting quizzed randomly. I mean, not randomly, but you're just not used to it. All of a sudden a quiz pops up and you're like, oh crap, like, okay, did I remember this? Was I paying attention? So I love Team Treehouse. I think it's amazing. And also they make it very easy to understand the content. JavaScript is a very daunting language to learn, but I've found with taking this track that, I've already known a lot of this stuff, the basics, I already know those things, but even looking at how I learned those basics compared to how they teach you on Team Treehouse is completely different and it's so much easier to understand. So I highly recommend that. Also Free Code Camp, but again, we'll go in depth on things that I learned and why I use those resources and why I recommend them. Okay, so to touch on how I got my first job, again, I went to those meetups, I networked. I found someone who is still like my mentor today. Like I just got off the phone with her yesterday, or it was the day before yesterday, because I had questions and she was there to answer them and give me advice on, okay, well, maybe if you do it this way, then you'll have this outcome. So, it's great because you can get these unspoken mentors out of the situation too, just from showing that you are interested. And the thing about this industry is that most times when people are very passionate about their coding, they are super passionate about teaching it as well. So you'll run across a lot of people who are willing to teach you these things and they are excited to teach you. I love talking about tech. I love talking about code. So definitely get out there and network. Go to meetups if you can, like I said. I researched a lot on like how to get your first tech job. So again, YouTubers we're talking about, they did there's platforms out there that offer like pretty much where you can do a practice run at a tech tech interview and like a coding quiz. So there were a lot of those things that you can do. But for me in particular, it was that networking that did it, to be completely honest with you. I had been putting out application after application after application, and what I didn't realize is that maybe my portfolio wasn't that big or it wasn't big enough. There was nothing really on there that stood out. And that's the thing, if you're not networking, you need a strong portfolio, in my opinion, things that are going to stand out or show at least that you have these skills that they're looking for, especially being self-taught. Like, they are already going to see on there that you didn't put that you have a bachelor's degree. They're going to see that maybe you don't have any official training, boot camps or whatever the case is. So you have to kind of make you should want that anyway, to make your portfolio stand out, so that you can really just show your skill set and show your passion and dedication for it to even get that first interview. And then from that first interview, you just kill it. Networking was how I got my first job. Because I had been going to the meetups and speaking with the person who I was referring to as my mentor, basically, she ended up, she works for a company that ended up having a situation coming up where they were looking for a new web developer, and she pushed me into it. She said, "Hey, Jessica, I think you would be a really great fit for this. What do you think?" And I was like, hell yeah, because at the time, again, we were making no money, and we had 2 kids at this time because I had already had my baby. So yeah, we needed that. So, and she was offering more than I've ever made in my life. Not that it's a huge astronomical amount, but coming from $15,000 a year, I'm dead serious, to what I make now, starting out in my first job, I wasn't gonna say no. When I got hired on where I work now, the woman who I told you is like my mentor now, she actually owns her own company, but she has a contract with another company. So pretty much I had to interview with her, and then I had to interview with the program manager from that other company because he was the program manager over the contract that I work on. So it was a quick process. I believe I started the interview process in September, and like 2 days later, I got word from her and the program manager that they wanted to go ahead and hire me. And then I started working there September 2019, and I'm still there today. So in conclusion, I want to say that whatever your goals are when it comes to coding or tech in general, because you don't have to code to be in tech, whatever your tech goals are, define them, make them definite, and execute them. Make sure, it's going to change. Like right now I'm a web developer, but I want to get more into languages that I can use to create apps, but still take those skills that I learned from web development and apply them to those apps. So as the industry changes, your goals and, ideas of what you exactly want to do when it comes to coding may change, but always remember to make them definite. Wherever your goal is at that time, make it definite and make a plan and execute it. That's it. Just do it. I was told by some people at the beginning of my journey that I would never be able to be a web developer without going to school. I would never be able to do certain things without doing this. I couldn't do this without doing that. You need to go get a real job while you chase your dreams. You need to do this, you need to do that. But the thing is, it's like only you know what is good for you when you're a certain age, okay? Definitely you're going to have people in your ear who care about you saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but you have to figure out what is good for me. What makes sense for me? Does it make sense for me to work a job that has nothing to do with tech? I mean, if you have the means. Of course, people have to work. You got to make money. But whatever it looks like to you, whatever your journey looks like to you is what it is to you. If you get told that you should go to boot camp or you should go to get a computer science degree, but you don't feel that you need to do that, don't do it. If you feel that you need to do it, do it. So just always take what you feel and apply it accordingly. It sounds unbelievable to go from $15K a year, or really once I quit my job making nothing a year, to almost doubling or tripling that, until you do it. Everything is unbelievable until you do it. And really, what is impossible anyway? That shouldn't even be in the dictionary, to be honest, because just because it hasn't happened today doesn't mean it can't happen tomorrow. So, and that's with anything. So just always be mindful of that. Just because you are where you are today doesn't mean you'll be there tomorrow. Like literally, things can change. Once you change your mind, things can really change around you. And I'm so serious. I was going from a place where I lived with my kids, where one night they were shooting outside my window and I had to drag my kids off of my bed onto the floor and just wait for it to stop. And now I live in a very secure place with an amazing view. And I'm not saying that at all. If you know me, I am not a bragger. I'm very humble. I'm very quiet. But I just want to give hope out there to someone that you can change your life, whatever your circumstances. you don't have to settle. We were all put here to make a difference and to use our voices and use our skills and to live a good life. We weren't put here to struggle. And Keith taught me that. Keith was in my ear about that, because I went through some times where I was very, very down on myself. But one thing you can't tell me is that I didn't get this by myself. So that about wraps up this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I wanted to make sure I got all the key points, because I've been getting asked this question so much and it's really been anticipated. So I'm very excited to finally get this out to you guys. If you are into learning how to code, following my tech journey, on your own tech journey, want to learn some tips and tricks, want to have fun, see some behind the scenes vlogs, or not behind the scenes, but daily life vlogs, which I already have some up right now if you want to go check those out. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, help me out and like it. I didn't think I would be one of those people to say that, but I guess it helps the algorithm. So if you could push this video up into that algorithm so YouTube can pick it up and we can help more people, please do. This is going to be the first entry to I think 5-part series that I'm going to do. It's going to be a series. I haven't come up with an official name, but we'll just for now say that it is how to get your first tech job as a self-taught web developer or self-taught coder in general, because I feel like these things apply to, across the board. But this is the first video to a 5-part series. We may add more, we may take away some, but right now it's 5 parts. In my next video, I want to go over things that helped me actually learn how to code. So the books, the different platforms, and the different YouTubers that I watched on my journey. After that, I want to talk to you guys about when the right time might be to apply, or at least from my experience, to apply for the different positions. Some good pieces that I feel like will be good on your portfolio when you go to apply for these positions. And then maybe I can get my fiance on one of these videos and he can talk about with me what to expect on your interviews, or like different things to help you prepare for your interviews, because he went on way more than I did. His journey looks completely different than mine. He's a software engineer and he's also self-taught with no computer science degrees or boot camps. I also want to do a video on whether or not you should do computer science degree route, boot camps, or self-taught, because I feel like that's a great topic to talk about, because everybody's journey is going to look different and everything may not work out the same. You may not be good at being self-taught. You might need to go the computer science route. So I want to break that down, at least in my opinion, what I feel are the benefits of each and the cons of each. So if you're interested in seeing more content like that, product reviews, tech talk, coding sessions, daily life of a web developer and software engineer vlogs with me and my family, be sure to hit the bell notification so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.